have seen gods fly. I've seen men build weapons that I couldn't even imagine. I've seen aliens drop from the sky.
Yeah.
But I have never seen anything like this. How much more are you hiding?
Hold up.
Hello, and welcome to Film Rant. Here we are, the final entry in the MCU before the major culmination of everything before it in Avengers Infinity War. Black Panther properly introduces one of the big heroes set to play a major part in Infinity War after his first appearance in Captain America Civil War. And to be honest, his character in Civil War didn't really get me hyped for this movie, nor did any of the trailers really. It looked like a decent superhero movie, but one that was exactly that. A superhero movie. However, with the attention on the movie featuring an almost entirely black cast and being a great movie for black actors and filmmakers alike, I knew there would be something more to it on a political level, and boy was I right. There is a lot to talk about with Black Panther, but I don't really want to get into it too much, otherwise this will end up being like an episode of Question Time. I will touch on politics where needed though, so I'm not going to totally skip it. Black Panther is very divisive, not in the sense that people love it or hate it, but because it successfully throws in arguments from both sides of the political spectrum to deal with Wakanda's national problems, and both of these arguments balance out to make the movie almost centrist in its political viewpoint. As a result, I'm sure some people with strong left or right views will be upset in some way or another with this movie. Whether I talk about political aspects of this movie, keep in mind I'm not pushing my own agenda or anything like that. I'm trying to remain as unbiased as possible. Aside from the subtext in the movie though, is it actually a good watch? Well, to answer that, I'll be stealth shipping my way into spoiler territory, so stalk your way down to the cinema and see the movie beforehand if you don't want anything spoiled. So I'll begin with the characters, and this section is actually going to be quite large for Black Panther. The characters are probably the strongest element of the movie. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's character driven like a movie like Logan is, but they are certainly a cut above your average Marvel character. I'll get started on Black Panther himself, played by Chadwick Boseman. A couple of my friends do movie reviews, and one of them said that he was upstaged in his own movie by Michael B. Jordan, which I'd probably disagree with. I'd say they're about the same, which is good as it puts the hero and villain on the same level, which can make a villain much more compelling. But we're not talking about the villain yet, we're talking about the hero, and Black Panther is an interesting one. It was great to see his origin story told very quickly at the beginning. He has simply chosen to be the Black Panther and has to drink his kind of potion that gives him his powers. Cool. What's interesting about Black Panther is that he's thrust into becoming king of Wakanda right at the beginning of the movie, and he is torn between citizens who are traditional and citizens who are progressive. Some citizens want to help the rest of the world by offering some of their vibranium to everyone else, whereas others think the rest of the world don't deserve it or would only use it for evil and want to keep the tradition and stay in the shadows. It's not hard to see how this conflict draws parallels with certain issues in the real world. Gun control is probably one of the most obvious links. Some people want them banned, which you could label as the progressive side, and others don't want them banned because it's the Second Amendment, which you could argue is the traditional side. Black Panther may have his issues in an entirely fictional universe, but his problems stem from something very real, which makes his character relatable. He doesn't know how to lead, but he's forced to learn, and when someone who is much more certain in their actions comes along, he's defeated. I wouldn't say there's too much depth to Black Panther himself, but his current situation and his arc of him learning to become a leader is one of the best main hero arcs we've had in a while. Similarly, Black Panther features one of the best villains in the Marvel Universe, not because he's especially badass or physically strong, but more because his motivation is kind of relatable. Villains are made that much stronger when you can very clearly see their point of view and almost support it. Michael B. Jordan plays Killmonger, and his goal is to use his heritage to the throne of Wakanda to distribute vibranium to other black people around the world so they can use it to oppose their oppressors. Obviously this is kind of an extreme way to resolve that situation. He wants to cause war throughout the world, but you can't argue that his cause does not have noble intentions. He's justifiably angry at the world around him, and even if his response to that anger is morally questionable, you can understand where it comes from. What makes him a villain to me is just that he's a monumental dick, and, you know, he does kind of murder his girlfriend. So yeah, he is an evil guy to some extent, but you kind of view it like he's just so hell-bent on setting free his brothers that he'll stop at nothing to get it done. He's the perfect villain for Black Panther. As he is indecisive in what he wants to do and how he wants to lead, Killmonger comes in and gives everyone a push in one direction, and in the end he kind of wins. He wants to give the vibranium to the rest of the world, but specifically the oppressed. At the end of the movie, Black Panther decides to share vibranium with the world, only to everyone. So I guess in some way Killmonger did get his wish. Only I can see the oppressors getting the vibranium and using it for more power, which we'll probably see some storyline in Black Panther 2 if we get one. Killmonger is that good a villain I honestly wouldn't have minded if Black Panther did save him at the end and made him a kind of core leader. Obviously he'd have to learn to not be so extreme and stop being a monumental dickhead, but if the shit Loki has done is redeemable, then Killmonger certainly is. I am still happy how his story ended though. It's just a shame we'll not get to see him again because he's such an excellent villain. Andy Serkis plays Claw, and maybe aside from Martin Freeman, he's the most pointless character in the movie. I think the only purpose he serves is payment for Michael B. Jordan's entry into Wakanda. He kills Claw and then takes him to Wakanda so he can say, "Aye lads, I've killed him for you, can I come in now?" Everything Serkis does in this movie doesn't matter. He introduces Killmonger in the museum heist, which doesn't matter either, because they don't even use the vibranium from the axe they steal. Killmonger then rescues him from the CIA before killing him in an airfield. I just think the movie dedicated far too much time to a character who didn't really need to be there for more than 5 minutes. I'd rather have seen Killmonger get onto the throne of Wakanda earlier so they could explore what his rule would be like versus Black Panther's in more detail. Martin Freeman is one of the weirdest additions to the MCU. Not because it's Martin Freeman, but because his character is American. Why didn't they just get an American to play this guy? He's not particularly interesting or important, so they could have got somebody much less known to play his character and someone who doesn't have a very weird accent. I don't think his American accent is bad, it's just strange hearing it come from Martin Freeman. But I'm not going to focus on odd casting. His big problem is that he's so boring. There is absolutely nothing remotely interesting about Martin Freeman's character. He's a generic CIA agent whose purpose is... I don't really understand it actually. I guess he's only here to help Wakanda transition into the wider world since he's a government official, but they could have done more with him to make him earn his place in the movie. He's duller than a Coldplay B-side.
I feel safe. I feel warm when you're here.
Letitia Wright plays Black Panther's sister Shuri, and boy did I like her character. She's the Lucius Fox to Black Panther's Batman. She's the one who makes all his gadgets and his suit. We even get the James Bond-esque Q walk-around scene where she shows Black Panther all of these new gadgets she's made which totally won't be used at some point in the movie. I liked her because you get the impression that without her, Black Panther wouldn't be anywhere near as good. She's an important part of Black Panther's success and pretty much deserves to be in the suit as much as he does. She's also very funny and easy to warm to thanks to Letitia Wright's charisma, so good job with her, Marvel. I also enjoyed Danai Gurira, or as some of you may know, Michonne from The Walking Dead's character, Okoye. She's fiercely loyal to Wakanda but also to Black Panther himself, so when Michael B. Jordan comes in and fucks everything up, it was great to see her torn between supporting the rightful ruler of Wakanda versus the right ruler of Wakanda. I don't normally like characters for being badass either, but damn! She kicks ass. You can't help but respect and like her character. She's fierce, she's loyal, and she is incredibly entertaining. Lupita Nyong'o's character, Nakaya, was the only Wakandan character I didn't really warm to. I don't know why, but she just never really grabbed my interest. She's a bit ordinary. I feel like she's introduced in this movie because she'll become a much bigger character in future movies, but for this, I thought she was just not that engaging. I can't think of a single interesting thing about her, so yeah, let's move on. I'll get onto the script now, although this is kind of still character based as well. There's a scene where Black Panther is talking to Daniel Kaluuya's character W'Kabi about immigration. Panther is asking whether he thinks Wakanda should help immigrants and refugees, to which W'Kabi replies, "Nah, if you let immigrants into Wakanda, they'll bring their problems with them." Which is the perfect setup to the question, what exactly is an immigrant? I say this because in the later stages of the movie he sides with Killmonger over Panther when he takes the throne. Even though he's of Wakandan heritage, you can argue that Killmonger is an immigrant himself because he's American born and an American citizen, but because his father was Wakandan, W'Kabi doesn't seem to view him as an immigrant. It's ironic too, as Killmonger does indeed bring his problems with him. His problem is with how some people are treated outside of Wakanda, and he comes to Wakanda and uses it to try and rectify that problem, which essentially results in a civil war. In fact, Black Panther had more civil war in it than, well, civil war. So you can argue that W'Kabi is totally going against his own beliefs by siding with Killmonger, as it is totally up in the air as to what he defines as an immigrant. What is also ironic is how Black Panther's dad chooses to leave Killmonger in the US, I think because he's US born, so he'd be an immigrant in Wakanda and could cause problems. I'm not totally sure if this is correct, so correct me if I'm wrong. But if that is the case, then it's that very action that creates the problem in the first place. Because Killmonger was left in the US and robbed of the throne to Wakanda, this makes him angry and driven, so he takes Wakanda by force anyway. There is no right answer, which seems to be a theme in Black Panther. Killmonger also resents Black Panther because of something his father did, and Killmonger is frowned upon because of something his father did. People don't forgive actions of people's ancestors, which is another thing rife in this world. It reminds me of that quote from Bright, which is a perfectly fine movie by the way, so fuck you critics, but that quote is,
"Here's the thing I can't understand. How do a bunch of dudes who can barely remember their baby mama's birthday have beef with a whole race over some shit that happened 2,000 years ago?"
Sure, Black Panther's issues aren't from 2,000 years ago, but the issues still stem from ancestry. Black Panther has its hands in so many social issue pockets it's hard to keep up, and I really love this new approach Marvel are taking to really maturing up their content. The movies are starting to get as vocal about social issues as their Netflix series are, while still being less gritty and more accessible to a wider audience. People loved Winter Soldier for this kind of stuff, but I think Black Panther is one of the best for it. Getting on to more face value aspects of the movie, I love the Waterfall fight scenes. The first one allowed us to see how Black Panther can handle himself without the powers or the suit, and he still managed to take down this big bastard with little issue. It's rare that we see how the heroes handle themselves without a suit or superpower, because superpowers are normally permanent, and the suit is normally always worn in combat. To introduce Black Panther by showing he can knock your ass to the curb without any fancy ass powers or a suit really makes him strong and powerful. This also plays into making the villain stronger, since in the second battle he beats Black Panther fair and square. He isn't weakened or the villain has powers or a suit, it's mano a mano and Killmonger fucking destroys him. It was great to see heroes and villains who can naturally handle themselves well, and when they fought each other, it seemed like a battle full of genuine power and strength, which is rare in superhero movies. I do have one little question which will probably get answered by a swathe of comments or in a future movie, but who was Killmonger's mother and why wasn't she in the movie? I feel like if his dad hadn't leave him, he could have just went to his mother. Where was she? Was she dead? Did she just leave and can't be found? Is she someone important who they want to reveal at a later date? She seems like she could have been a very important character in Killmonger's childhood, but there's not really any mention of her. As for the technical aspects, there really is some dodgy CGI at times. The rhinos at the end battle look a bit too computer generated, and there's some bad green screen in the waterfall fight scenes, which is a shame because those scenes are so fucking good. It's not awful to look at or anything, it's just very noticeable. It's green screen and it breaks your immersion significantly. Some of the Marvel movies have often had questionable CGI at times. I don't know what their problem is. There's lots of other movies out there with lower budgets with phenomenal CGI, but Marvel just seem to miss the mark a lot. The setting, locations and costume design in this movie are exceptional. Wakanda as a place is probably one of the most interesting in the MCU so far. I really love the mix of its African tribal roots mixed with modern technology. Again, it plays into that theme of tradition versus progression. Wakanda is a nice mix of the two, which ultimately Black Panther achieves politically as a leader. Top marks to the costume design above all though. The tribal dresses and headdresses were pieces of art, and they looked like genuine real-world traditional tribal clothing, which helped cement Wakanda into the Marvel world. It astonishes me that this movie hasn't been nominated for an Oscar for costume design. They've been robbed. So overall, Black Panther is a very complex movie. There's so many political and social commentaries going on, it's genuinely hard to look at them all. I could write a review just talking about them, which would be longer than the movie itself. The cast all gives solid performances, especially the lead and Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger, though there is a few flat characters like Claw, Everett and Nakia, but they aren't enough to let the movie down. The story is compelling, even if Claw's part in it is a little too long. The characters are even more compelling, and it's wonderful to look at in terms of location, colour and costume design. There's dodgy CGI, but nothing that makes you want to rip your eyes out. Black Panther and Killmonger actually seem like genuinely powerful foes that aren't made artificially powerful by superpowers or suits. They're a bit like Jon Bernthal's Punisher, just this threatening, looming presence that just oozes strength. It's rare to see characters like that in Marvel movies. I would say the movie is perhaps a little too long, but that could just be a personal thing. I've not really heard many other people say it. If you're a big Marvel fan, you'll probably like this movie. If you're not into superhero movies, then you should see it anyway just to see what it has to say about the world today. It's a thoroughly interesting watch. Black Panther gets 4 frames out of 5. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Film Rant.
The revolution will be live.